we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. We also take a look over there at the stock market as it gets set to open up in the next 3 minutes. And we also take a peek over there at precious metals, the DXY or the US dollar currency index. And then we take a peek over there at any type of financial news or any type of crypto news that is going on out there in the world today. I hope that you guys had a nice weekend. For some of you, an extended 3-day weekend. For a lot of the country, that is just like, or a lot of the United States, just massively under snow. Maybe your weekend is still going on, with the weather that's been going on. But hopefully you're doing all right out there. It's been with it being an extended weekend, and yesterday even the stock market being closed. Of course, Bitcoin ETFs were launched last week. They've been closed for the last 3 days, so they're going to open up again here in 3 minutes from right now, and we'll get an opportunity to see how the market does respond here once these things get going. If you don't know this, I'm the most hated man on Twitter. But that's just kind of how it goes. We talked a lot about this on the way up, that once we would get back to those retracements, that's just how life would end up being. And I have grown to accept that at reversals, I'm always perceived as the enemy. But today we'll kind of go through a couple of those things on there to reinforce why there is concern happening here at the current price level for Bitcoin. Moon Lambo even posted it this morning, talking about the behavior of the attacking and everything like that, and that is exactly how the peak of the last Bitcoin top came in. Is when you're pointing it out, the majority do go for a big fight and big brutal attack. They go after your character. They do everything like that they possibly can. And I've grown to accept that, and that once things reverse, the entire picture of me changes. So I just kind of go through this, and we tough it out for a minute here. But looking at Bitcoin, right, we've gotten back to the 618 retracement level. I posted this over there on Twitter yesterday. Of course, started a firestorm. How many comments is there on that tweet? 394. That is a little bit more than a typical amount. Of course, that's nothing new for you guys here at Markets in the Morning and here on the YouTube channel, because these are things that we've been watching for quite some time. I know I have the other chart. There it is. Just talking about the phase that we're at within the stock market and what's going on there with Bitcoin too. And that it would just make perfect sense to have that happening right in here. One other thing, I'm not the first to discover this. But another thing too is that for those 702 retracement to 618 retracement, even over here, Grayscale Bitcoin's Trust, their top actually came back in here in the springtime of 2021, and you could see that the launch of the ETF was literally the day that GPTC hit the 702. So timed events, the puppet masters pulling the puppet strings, God, or a simulation. Imagine that. That's where that does end up showing up. But this has been the thesis to get back to these retracement levels, and now we do actually see a tremendous amount of bearish divergences showing up here on Bitcoin in these levels. Right, here's the whole run up back in here, and here's just the weakness. Here's ETF. I mean, look at the relative strength index. It is just an absolute downward direction happening in here between these things. Come on. There you go, TradingView. We're going to work here. While you could see that price has been grinding up in here. So it is very typical. The things that I'm looking for and hoping for is that we are just stalled out here for a few months, right? There's still going to be that hope, that optimism that Bitcoin will break out and go into new all-time highs. Everybody can turn their $1,000 portfolio of Bitcoin into $2,000 and change their life. And then that seems to be the general consensus of what's going to happen in here for Bitcoin. Of course, I'm way more focused on the other aspect of the market. I did see that super chat come in earlier. Gator is asking about the expanded flats on Ethereum. We'll take a look at that too. But you see the bear divergences coming up in here, and I also put out the newsletter yesterday. If you missed it yesterday, the Bitcoin craze price hits $49,000 amidst ETF market frenzy. What the recent price surge could mean for Bitcoin, the altcoin market, and reversals, in which we're talking a lot about volume profiles and everything to work our way back to these actual levels and get here, and for things to happen, and that there's definitely reversal volume that has shown up in here. Other things to take notice of, right? Because what is the real consensus? One, we know that the general herd tends to FOMO back in at retracement levels, and that's just a message I've communicated the whole time, right? They'll think that we're not going back there. They'll scream, we'll never get back there. We'll get back there, and they will get, and then they'll all buy it at that time. And a lot of times we'll get a narrative. And right now, of course, the narrative is that it's going to be a lot of money flowing in from ETFs. This time is different from all other ETFs, in that this time it's going to be surging. But we can take a look back, and I was doing this morning, just kind of going through it. Like, do you guys, like, this obviously is just taken from right here, and it's the same concept of what's happening over here with the NDXT. But do you know what happened right here in this particular moment in time? And we'll take that off the screen just to make it a little bit more easy to see. This is BTO, right? So this is the launch of the Bitcoin futures, not Bitcoin futures. This is a launch of Bitcoin ETF, right? But it tracks, but it doesn't have spot. Look at the literal location that it gets launched at. It gets launched into the actual point where you get that first blow off to happen in here. Then it's like a bearish divergence that comes in here for that second top to end up coming in here. But the actual euphoric moment does occur right in here. And it happens one day, top, that's it, right? Let's go back to 2017. When did we launch Bitcoin futures? Literally at the top, okay? So these two financial products get launched literally at the top, and BITO, B-I-T-O, gets launched right there. Where do the ETFs all get launched? Same concept, same spot, right? So this is the spot where you get BITO launched. Here you go, you get all of the ETFs launched, and you get it launched right there. So I do understand everybody wants to think this time is different, but do recognize the historic action of Bitcoin after financial products do get launched, and recognize the place they launch them at. They do not launch these things anticipating mediocre demand or, low demand. They do it when they think they can get the best launch absolutely possible. And we can see that throughout history, that when these products launch, they launch at reversals, or when sentiment is extremely swung in one direction. And the same was true for BTI, which is Bitcoin short, right? This thing gets launched after all the collapsing happens, right? We've already had Luna collapse. We've already had Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, everything. They launch it right down here at the end of June to say, hey, do you want to short Bitcoin? We know you're utterly terrified right now. And that's where that ETF gets launched. But of course, it tracks Bitcoin to the opposite direction. What is this? This is, the mark of the bottom. This is working out the lows now. They let you short down here with this ETF at the lows, but then price reverses, right? So this is the best time to launch a short ETF during the most fear, the most panic, the most conviction by the general public that price will continue going down, right? And then price reverses. We get back to retraces. The general sentiment is always, we're going to keep going up once we get back to retracements. And that's the perfect time to go ahead and launch another financial product to say, oh, sure, here, you want to bet that it's going to keep going that way? Here you go. So, you definitely see all the bearish divergences emerging in there. You've gotten back to the retracement levels. And this is, on this exact fractal, this is the exact location where they launched BITO the last time. So just kind of keep that in mind. And as we get really drunk on emotions and excitement and thinking this time is different, that that is there. And I get it. I get painted as this person over there on Twitter, and that's just the way it is. I've been here long enough, and I've been through enough of these to know this is exactly normal behavior of the cryptocurrency community to do this. And it typically happens at pivotal moments. So, I just challenge you to go into it with an open mind and think about it. And that we reached retracements, that Grayscale, all those ETFs launched right when Grayscale hits its 702 Fibonacci retracement. There's lots of bearish divergences, and there's lots of reversal volume indicators for Bitcoin in general. I still think there's months left in this market. I think it's going to, we've got plenty of time for the market to just be utterly euphoric and utterly excited. I think there's still even the possibility we see another little new blip high for Bitcoin. I'm not banking on it. I'm not betting on it. But I think there's a very real possibility that Bitcoin just kind of does one of these things, right? And then waddles throughout here, and then that's it. And this is like all the euphoria, and if it even gets that high. I think that's not ruled out for me that is a possibility to happen, because that's typical, and that's been the thesis over here. So, keeping our eyes on moving through the next month. I don't think we're done with Bitcoin going down a little bit more before the whole thing stabilizes. And then once the whole thing stabilizes, once we kind of get that, that's going to be the moment to watch how the whole market responds. Does the whole market go absolutely nuts? Does it go crazy? Does it go wild? That's going to be the big event we're all waiting for. But I do still think there is still another blip down that's going to eventually come. Like we talked about in markets in the morning yesterday, likely still, it's probably going to get up to like the 45s to 47s potentially for Bitcoin. And then that plunge down lower does eventually come. And then we watch the whole market during that time period. And is that going to be the exciting time where we go see the Dow go on and hit the 4.236 extension, right? This all comes back in. Fred Rispoli asked me yesterday about, the money printing, stock market continuing to go up. Aren't those all good elements there? But of course, like in my thesis, it is that we are at the end of the stock market. None of that has changed in regards to like end of big 90-year cycle coming here for the Dow Jones and for the stock market up pretty soon. But it is that once we start rate cuts, which we know that are very close, right? We are mere months away from them. That anytime we do end up having rate cuts, it is not very long after that things really start hitting the fan. So the reason that rate cuts even are happening in the first place is because we are seeing underlying weakness throughout the entire market. And the hard concept, because of engagement and because of, just influencer incentives, it's just to say we keep going up, to make $5 million thumbnails for Bitcoin, right? To make all that kind of stuff. But the reality of it is it's very tied to the stock market. And the other part of it now is it's literally tied to the stock market now that it actually has 11 ETFs added in there, 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs. And so, when we get here, there's euphoria. None of the people don't go through and do the historical analysis of this to see that correlation between Bitcoin. And it's just that we're going to repeat cycles, right? But obviously, this market is acting really in line with the thoughts that I've had from being at the bottom, saying, look, we're not going to 10 to 12K, which is what everybody wanted, right? They wanted that because that is the 82 to 86% drawdown of what occurred back in 2014 and in 2018, looking for similar cycle resets. But it only drew down 77%. The question is why? And that is something different. And nobody's questioning that. They're just accepting it, saying, oh, that's just all it was. That's just all we got. But the reality is it's likely just because this has just been a big giant retrace for the market. And just like at every top, these banks, these institutions are releasing another financial product to sway, retail to behave in a particular direction. Nobody views it as a warning that BlackRock CEO is going around praising Bitcoin all over TV. That they're like, no, he's just on our team now. I know he's been our enemy for 15 years, but he's on our team now. JP Morgan being the one that has to source the Bitcoin for BlackRock's ETF, not thinking to themselves, I wonder if it's JP Morgan providing the Bitcoin and they're distributing their Bitcoin, or that it's JP Morgan's friends, or that JP Morgan knew that this ETF was coming and all of JP Morgan's buddies accumulated Bitcoin and they're the ones sourcing it to JP Morgan, who then source it to BlackRock. Everybody's under the impression they have front run the banks and that the banks are going to have to go straight to spot price and just start shooting spot price up for Bitcoin to start moving, rather than being like, maybe they always win, and maybe they'll win again here too. So just, food for thought. My goal is not to be the enemy. My goal is actually just to say, hey, everybody, kind of wake up for a minute. These are the things we looked for. You got that on the literal day of your ETF for Grayscale. You're flashing all the bear warnings, and the structures are there for Bitcoin. Again, I still think these are the type of elements that create a lot of excitement throughout all markets. I just think the juice is out for Bitcoin, but that we will still spend months here with people still screaming we're going to go up. That's really what my thoughts are in here, that we will still see screaming for higher. Any type of rally that comes up will be met with a bunch of optimism that we are going to keep going up, and that's just how it goes, and that's good. That's what we want. We want the excitement to still remain in the market. We don't want it to be completely flushed out at all. But this is still going to be my hypothesis. This is my thesis. It's the one we've run with, and I don't think a lot of people do know, and you guys do in particular, who are here all the time and stuck through this. We rode the thing the whole way up, and literally, the script writes itself. The script just writes itself. So, yeah, that's what's up with Bitcoin. I don't think we're gonna do this thing anytime soon. I still think there's another lower level to go visit first before we can really stabilize ourselves in here, and this will be where we really watch to see what transpires throughout the rest of the market during that time. Then you have to think to yourself, there's likely going to be a narrative. There's likely going to be something that comes at the end. And so we're going to keep that in mind and prepare for that. What could it be? It could be that the Fed starts cutting. Everybody's really excited about that, right? Most of the public does believe that once we do this, all the memes come out, right? The Jerome Powell money printer meme comes out. And it could be a lot of things. It could be that what if the Fed comes out? I mean, imagine this narrative real quick. The Fed comes out and cuts rates, and at the exact same time says we're pausing QT, right? We're not going to be selling any more treasuries. We're not going to be selling any more mortgage-backed securities. We're going to stop. And even what if QE actually resumes in a moment like that? That would be an absolute euphoric moment in the market. And I don't have any clue what that narrative would be. Maybe what if it's another company, like, what if somebody follows suit, like MicroStrategy or something? Some major company puts Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They put the ETFs on their balance sheet or something like that. Any type of narrative could arrive at that point. And I'm definitely fully prepared that some type of move like that, if we settle here for a couple of months and then there's one more little push, would likely be accompanied with some type of narrative to go with it. But that particular moment in time would be okay, guys, I'm watching out here. I'm not only nervous of Bitcoin, I'm nervous of the whole market at this point. But up until then, I'm still operating under the guise of that. There's still excitement left in this market, just not for this guy. And it's not to be a Debbie Downer on Bitcoin. And this is a different language for people who watch this channel. You just spent a year and a half of me fighting, right? And then now language change has suddenly happened here for Bitcoin. As now we have passed the event horizon and we've hit the retrace for Bitcoin. Now it's about these JP Morgan and buddies spending quite a bit of time distributing. I don't think they would launch this thing and then just not seize the opportunity of excitement to continue distributing. They're still waiting for, and it terrifies me to see this, the people who are transferring from Vanguard over to places like Fidelity to go all in with their retirement accounts on Bitcoin. That is it's a scary time to do it, and that just goes to show you, like, it's not clear thinking, right? It's just narrative thinking, not operating under how the market has responded. So again, I'm just trying to speak to the people who maybe are doubters, or the people on Twitter. My goal is never to just come on and be a troll. Like, it's really It's not. I'm just typically, whenever you see these markers show up in here, and you see the sentiment of market behave like that, and you see behavior of retail investors on social media, and that there's a complete ignoring of everything technically happening in here, and 100% reliance on a narrative. This is how endings for assets like this happen. So just keep it in mind. We'll track it as time goes on. All right, well, let's peek over there at how the ETFs are doing as the day is going. All the ETFs are down about 3 to 4%, except for DeFi, which I don't know. Maybe I have that wrong. I don't know. But either way, there you go. HODL. We don't have to go through all of them. They're all the same. They're all down 3.5%. All of the Bitcoin ETFs. I do believe like the narrative for the last 3 days on Twitter was something about T+2 or something. I don't know. The liquidity was supposed to be flying in today or something. I don't know. It obviously did not at the opening. Still, don't be surprised for a little bit of a bounce to come in here and get it back into the 45s to 47s before it does make another shift down to the downside. All right. Let's move on. Altcoin market, still just sitting steady. Dow, how are you doing? Let's go to this one. There you go. Dow Jones, how are you doing? The Dow is down 214 points to start the day off. Also prepare for this. This is definitely whenever. This is the thing too to be mindful of it. So if you constantly find yourself like. If you got washing machine throughout the whole thing and you just got back into the market up in here and now you're just like, what? No way. And you're constantly narrative driven. Things like this emerge. Events like this happen. Likely if this stock market goes up here, there's likely to be some catalyst that is coming that we don't see right now. We don't know what it's going to be. And it could be blamed just as C19 was. Nobody blamed the government. Nobody blamed anything in particular. It took it off of everybody's shoulders to point the finger at C19, and to just kind of keep in mind those events, those unforeseen events can show up. And like, for example, unforeseen events, right? The quote SEC Twitter hack that happened a couple of days ago just magically shows up. Those types of things. And weird things that you don't see. And a lot of people always want to have a really long-term 5-year outlook on markets, but don't account in for these elements. And the thing that you look for is there a lot of weakness that is emerging before these catalysts end up arriving. And so, these are things that we'll be talking about as time goes forward, but there's likely in our future, some point this year, some catalyst. And to just kind of prepare for it. And then that if this thing all plays out, it's all going to be said, oh, it was the catalyst that caused it. But we're trying to lay down this foundational work here right now to say, look at all these different things. Like, you think that was an accident for Grayscale? You think that's an absolute accident that happens on the day of the ETF? It's highly unlikely. So there you go. All right. Dow still up. There you go. It's still 4% away from the 4.236. NASDAQ's down 88 today. Dow is down 230 today. S&P is down 30. Looking over there at stocks, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Google lead the way. Losers are Apple, Arc, Tesla, and Roblox. Precious metals, they're taking a little bit of a hit today. There you go. You got gold down $16, still hovering above that $2,000 price level. Weekly closes still up in here. Let's see, did it close? Still last week, still closed here above previous weekly highs, but still just waffling around, not doing much in here at this time right now. The DXY, we've been talking about this one, right? Expecting that the bottom was already in for the DXY. Still a shift up, still continuing to happen in here for the DXY for a little while. The thesis and the discussion that we've been having here on the channel is really kind of waiting for it to get back up to close to about that 105 and a half. And then this will be kind of the grand finale of markets happening in here. At least that's my thesis right now. If that changes, we'll talk about it at the time. But currently, we have gotten the bottom right so far. And I think this thing will still continue to shift up for a little while until we get up into the 105s before we can then go down here. What would be absolutely amazing is we get down here and then QE starts, rate cut start, whatever ends up happening, and then that would really trigger the narrative that things will keep on going. But I will be operating under the pretense that once we do get back down in here again, right, up and then back down, this is where all the excitement of the market ends up happening. And then this will be the time where we pivot a lot of the content on this channel to end of the world doomer. So, all right, there you go. As for current expectations of a rate hike or rate cut or pause, we are 15 days away. That will be on January 31st. That's a Wednesday. So we always live stream these. This is going to be in 2 weeks. We'll see what they say in regards to upcoming cuts, because the market says that's the last time we're paused. From then on out, we are cutting. At least it has a 71% probability on cutting in March. Then 100% probability on all the ones after that. So we'll see what Jerome Powell has to say when that comes out. As for any type of financial news that's going on out there in the world today, Goldman Sachs tops revenue estimates on better than expected asset management returns. Morgan Stanley revenue tops estimates, helped by strong investment banking business, and fourth quarter earnings so far are loaded with both good and bad news. Burger King owner restaurant brands buys chain's largest U.S. franchise. Synopsys to acquire graphics software make Ansys in $35 billion deal. Okay, I don't know what that is and probably mispronounced that. U.S. economy has already seen 75% of the impact from the Fed's hikes. Where to invest $50,000 with treasury yields rising again? Oh boy, Elon Musk. Okay, yeah. So Ripple CEO calls U.S. SEC Chair Gary Gensler a political liability at Davos today. Ripple CEO Brad Garling. This was on the front page of CNBC earlier today, by the way. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse fired off criticism at U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler on Tuesday, calling the SEC chief a political liability. I think we've all heard that a lot, and I don't think we're going to see anything new in here. It's all the same stuff, talking about how he's really just lost all of his court cases, right? Last year, the SEC, one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome, Garlinghouse said, describing what he perceives as Gensler's ongoing campaign against crypto. I think Gary Gensler is doing the same thing over and over again, and he thinks that somehow he's going to win in court. He has continued to lose in court. Last year, the SEC launched lawsuits against 3 major crypto exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken, alleging that they had sold unregistered securities on their platform. The lawsuits are ongoing. Ripple is fighting the SEC in a lawsuit of its own launched in 2020 on grounds that the firm and its executives illegally sold XRP tokens in unregistered security sales. Charges against Garlinghouse and fellow executive Chris Larsen on the same counts were dismissed in October. Another loss for the SEC. Trump trounces rivals, advances toward Biden rematch. Davos Live, EU's von der Leyen, blah, blah, warns of von der Leyen, warns of risks to global order. Oh no. Diamond and Dalio confer with Zelensky. Davos elite see the glass half full on the global economy. Yeah, okay. U.S. futures pair losses after upbeat bank earnings. Goldman Sachs equity trading surge drives jump in profits. Okay, I think that's about that. What you got over here, guys? The report transfer of $15 billion of XRP was part of a failed exploit. I guess there was something that happened out there that, what is it? Whale alerts, it said, but it was a failed attempt to exploit. BlackRock drops boomer Bitcoin ETF ad as marketing blitz ramps up. Riot, TeraWolf, and CleanSpark best positioned miners for Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin greed index plummets to neutral as ETFs fail to buoy prices. Avalanche inscriptions draw record user interest. Argentine president to allow provinces circulate own currencies. Bitcoin faces very limited liquidity as Bitcoin price pushes below 43,000. Scam, AI kidnappings, 20K robot chief. Okay, will Bitcoin keep dropping because of the ETFs? Vivek Ramsway drops out of 2024 U.S. presidential race. Yeah, well, there you go. That's the news. Price has not done anything as the ETFs were all shut for the day, or shut for the 3-day holiday. Price sat really, really still throughout that whole time. We'll see what kind of volatility are we having now that they're opened. Really just continuing in this range still for Bitcoin. So, welcome to the stock market. Okay. And there we have it. It's been fun. It's been fun on Twitter. It's been fun. I don't like playing the villain because you guys know I'm not. But it's fun. It's fun to poke at it a little bit because sometimes the only way you can speak to people is with memes and kind of being a little bit more direct and stirring the pot a little bit, and it at least gets eyes open. And I do know there's other influencers who are watching this. They hear all the arguments. They know this is very serious concern. But it's who in the right mind would want to take the lash back from the herd and go along with something like this, right? No way. But just a reminder that now that we have about 3,000 people in here, this is exactly how the ETFs launched in 2021. This is exactly how BTO launched here in 2021 at the exact point that we're talking about right in here for Bitcoin. So just kind of keep that in mind. I get it. The narratives are there. And we definitely succumb to groupthink. We definitely find safety in large numbers, and that, there's no way everybody can be wrong. It's got to just be this one guy who is wrong. And I understand that. That's just natural human emotion to run with the group, to run with everything. But, if you got your people, ask about these things, right? Like, okay, do you have any concerns about this? Do you have any concerns about the big bearish divergence on the daily RSI? Do you have any concerns that the MACD daily is just completely falling apart? Do you have any concerns of the massive weekly sell volume that showed up in here, or the divergence, or the stochastic RSI falling off of a cliff, right? There's just lots of signs happening in here. I mean, they're totally being ignored. And, I'm just really glad that you guys can at least hear out my arguments. And, you decide whatever you want, man. It's a free world. You are absolutely welcome to disagree with any of it. But just know, we definitely rode the thing the whole way up. And there we go. Make them more bad, bro. Keep stirring that pot. The more mad they get, the funnier it gets. Yeah. I'm having a wonderful time. Don't get me wrong. I'm having a wonderful time. The one that really frustrated me the most was this one, because what happens is when you get down in here, everybody's really fearful. There's nothing fun about and we're bulls here, right? No question about it. We're bulls. The tweets, bears are going to be left behind in epic fashion, all that good stuff. Those are more difficult because you know how fearful everybody is. Everybody's got like that sinking feeling in their stomach, and you're coming on here and everybody's kind of in a negative mood, and you trying to rally them, but they're like, nah, because everybody else is telling them we're going to go lower. And those are really difficult. These types of moments, I'm living my best life right now. I really am. So, the punches are being thrown, but I'm totally doing just fine in this moment, just so you guys know. So, yeah, this is a good time. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and hop on into the chat. I ran my mouth for 33 minutes. I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. I didn't realize not everybody sticks around through all of it. Of course, guys, you can check out the newsletter that I wrote, or have published yesterday. I wrote it throughout the weekend, but published it yesterday, talking all about these things going on with Bitcoin. And then, of course, there's the 2024 outlook for those who don't have an understanding of what my outlook is for crypto. And then, of course, all the stuff on developer data and crafting better portfolios from 2021 and how this market was so different, right? In 2021, we only had 22% of the altcoins go on big runs, a vastly different market from 2017, rather than beating our heads against the wall heading here into 2024, rather than being like, well, let's just do the exact same thing we did last time, right? And struggling to find those, what was the consistent elements that between the ones that did well. And a lot of that had to do with development activity, percentage drawdowns, and circulating supply inflation. And so we go through and we really try to craft things and create winning portfolios versus in 2021, and then take a look over here at 2024. What matches that similar criteria from back then? So all that is available over there in the newsletter. This is at blockchainbacker.substack.com. And of course, if you'd like more content from me and educational videos, I have it over here on bcbacker.com, teaching you about the historical behavior of the crypto market. But all right, let's go ahead and hop on into the chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Let's see what we got here. I think the first one out the gates was Gator. He had said, good morning, BC Backer. Is potential running flat Elliott wave still valid for Ethereum? Also, do you see it in Bitcoin? It is still valid on Ethereum. I'm not going to go through the whole thing on here. I have a whole video that I posted yesterday in the chat. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can find it easily. And it's not a running flat. This is an expanded flat, right? And so all of this is still valid, and that's the big conflict between like Ethereum and between Bitcoin, because Ethereum, it would be in a completely different phase in a super cycle than than Bitcoin would in this circumstance. So not only would it be in an entire, Bitcoin has just completed its third super cycle, right? And this is actually Ethereum completing phase one of still what would potentially be its second super cycle. So yeah, and that's the big conflict for sure. I see it. I definitely see it over here for Ethereum. But like I mentioned yesterday, it still will be the same thing for Ethereum. I will be taking some off the table into the retracement levels. Do expect I will get a lot of fight. I will get a lot of pushback. People are going to be like, what about super cycles? You said super cycles. Look, you have to. For me, it's always I have to take some off on the retracement levels. If this at this point, this would be about a 200% rise at this point. To get to there, I'm totally willing to have some of my portfolio miss 31% of a rise to validate it going on and continuing higher. For me, my thoughts on this is it's going to be closer to about 25 to 30% of my Ethereum being sold. Really, it's just going to be a payback for everything that I bought back down in here. So everything else will continue to ride. So it's a very, very small amount. It's more of just a protective play back in here, but I definitely see it for Ethereum still. But it's a conflict, because that would mean that the cold, hard reality of it, and it's weird to imagine, it would be that Ethereum does flip Bitcoin. Ben Wills, morning BCB. Will you be? I don't know what that coin is, bro. So I can't. I'm not going to say it. Spags, a happy birthday, BCB. Well, thank you very much, Spags. Dennis Wayne gifted a BCB membership. Thank you very much. H2B Hot Tub Brian gifted one BCB membership. Thank you very much, brother. Jeff said, thanks, BCB. It's Dudes Day, my dudes. Kind of, right? Tuesday, Dudes Day? Cool. Thank you, bro. Daniel. Hi, mister. May I ask how you're going to treat those high dev coins that are already in all-time high like OP? When to recognize to let go? Thank you so much. Yeah, we talked about this earlier, right? It's significantly more difficult on those ones, right? So it's actually going to, for anything that is brand new, right? Anything that was created in the last year to year and a half, for me, the way I'm going to treat them is monitoring the entire altcoin market cap, right? If I have confluences, right? Some of the confluences we saw back in 2021, right? You're having Ethereum Classic hit its 4.236 extension, and you're having Ethereum up there. You're having the total market cap of crypto all hitting these pivotal moments at the exact same time. So for me, like always, paying attention to the whole market, because those ones with very little price history, for example, things like TIA. This is almost my first 10x of the last few months. We're getting very close to being a 10x on TIA here. Yeah, look at that, right? That's your historical chart there for the market. So this one, it's going to have to be paying attention to the rest of the market at the same time. Backamed TV. Hi, when buy Bitcoin? At 3K? Exit plan XRP? Greets. When to buy Bitcoin? Well, we should have been buying it when we were buying it, which was FTX collapse. Then there was lots of other opportunities to buy it, but now the price is just straight up at retracement levels. So for me, it's something I have zero interest in buying Bitcoin at this point. Right? So if for those who are like, right, like what would invalidate this, right? Like we go back and we talk about historical price behavior of Bitcoin throughout all recoveries, right? This is your typical price behavior, and this is also the one that Bitcoin really has been following so far in 2022, 2023. It's really been following the 2014, 16, 17 formula, and we've shown that time and time again. There we go. What is this? Get this off of here. There we go. Right, this has been the behavior it has, right? We even broke from the range, right? I don't have that arrow in there anymore. Remember, I used to have an arrow and said, will it continue? Had a misspelling of continue on there for like a month or something like that, right? And then it did break out at the exact same time, right? But the price behavior for that would be a slam back down into the previous range, or to confirm it as some type of support, right? So that is what we typically do in these types of situations. So that would be something to pay attention to if you're like wanting to buy Bitcoin, is that this thing is dumb. In that it would slam back down into the previous range at some point and find support on top of it. Like I mentioned, when I sold my Bitcoin, that my expectations are that we will eventually see that 30 to 32 price at some point. Maybe I'll end up buying it, right? And that's because that's when things can start becoming a smaller risk to reward ratio. Buying right here, right? You're betting that it absolutely is not going to pull back and that it is going to blast through the retracement levels. It's not on top of any type of like real supports happening in here. You're just betting that it's just going to keep going. It's hard for me to do that. But if we did pull back down into supports, I have like a pretty clear, invalidation in which I can take a shot at it, right? In here, and say, okay, we just slammed down into here. We're bouncing up a little bit. All right, I can grab it. But if we go back down here and we go break through there, it's totally invalidated. And I'm going to have to cut it and take like a 5% loss or something like that right in there, right? Or 10% loss or something like that, right? And the idea of that particular trade would be, what's my risk to reward ratio that I'm going for? Obviously, I'm going for a risk to reward ratio of much higher because I'd be going for all-time highs, right? Or even if not being treated as all-time highs and just even going for another retracement level, right? Even if that was all that it was, we'll put the dip further. We'll say that that's the grab. That's the invalidation, right? So that we're way below here and here. Yeah, invalidation. We'll put it even lower, right? Even here, you have an 8.6 risk to reward ratio. And then you have to say to yourself, well, what's the probabilities of that happening, right? I mean, it's not like impossible. I mean, I could put like a 20% probability on it, maybe. I don't know. But it's hard. The reason I say I don't know is just because of this thing, the Dow Jones. If I was going to base it off of the historical behavior, I'd be putting a higher probability on it probably. I'd be saying, yeah, it's great. But that's why your confidence level really applies to the risk to reward ratio. If you're only 20% confident that something's going to happen, would you take a trade that, you have a chance to win one or lose one? No. If you only have a 20% confidence on something, that means that you're only going to get it right 1 out of every 5 times, which means that the risk reward ratio has to be better than 5 to 1 for it to be a profitable trade to even attempt to take. Because if you get it wrong 4 times, well, then you lose 4. But in this circumstance of a risk to reward ratio of 8, well, that means in the one time that I get it right out of the 4, I get it wrong 4 times, but I get it right 1 time, then I win 8, but I only lose 4, and I'm net profit a total of 4, right? That's the idea of trading. It's not thinking that you're going to have it 100% right. It's just that when you're taking trades, that the probabilities are in your favor, and that if you repeat it with the law of large numbers, you turn out positive in the end. So where would I be concerned about Bitcoin? Dude, get through the last retracement level. Then it'd be like, that's something different there, right? I have to start contemplating what is happening with Bitcoin. Should it exceed the last retracement level? It's very, very simple, right? And that's the things we've talked about up in here. I'm going to ride this thing all the way up. Once we get here, I'm going to let this thing show its hand. I'm completely satisfied with missing any of this right in here to let the market prove to me what it's going to end up doing in here for Bitcoin. But if there was any place that even I'm willing to take a shot at adding Bitcoin to my bag, it would be on top of the previous support level, because that is how recoveries typically play out for Bitcoin. My bias is just that we are not going to end up seeing something like that, because there's bigger problems emerging, and that we're actually in distribution happening over here. Where are you? For the stock market, right? So tying into the fact that all of these bull runs that do happen in here, they're all coordinated with the stock market. And I'm not convinced that the stock market's going to break out into some massive bull run. But where do my thoughts start changing, or where do I start questioning myself? And it's once if we get through retracement levels. And unfortunately, the general public doesn't think of it that way. They don't think of, oh, we're going to go, it goes down, it must continue going down forever. We talk about it all the time. The market is typically going to retrace. And once we get back to retracements, that's the big question of what's going to happen in here. But what typically happens is everybody wants to buy it. Now, when it comes to your question, 3K, right? 3K, that's up to you. I don't think it would get there in a heartbeat. This is nothing new either. There's many videos made about the discussion of Bitcoin going to below $3,000, guys, not 3K, below $3,000. And that would be completely normal and acceptable in an event where the stock market has lost its 15-year bull run, which is the length of Bitcoin's lifespan and the length of every move up that has happened for Bitcoin. But the reality is people will not care about Bitcoin at that time. Nobody would care if you got down to those prices. People always say, if it got down there, I would buy it. No, you wouldn't. Did you buy here? Are you selling here? Right? Like we don't do that. Of course, there's the off chance of some guy who does do it. But the vast majority of people always say, oh, if we got those prices, I would definitely buy it. The problem is it's the exact same thing we always see right now. When we get high, you have tons of content out there telling you we're going higher. And when we get low, there's tons of content telling you we're going lower. So when the low time comes and it's time to buy, there's a tremendous amount of content out there telling you it's going to keep going lower. So you don't buy. And then the price turns around and that content keeps saying, wait, it's going to be okay, guys. It's going to be okay. It's going to turn around. Okay, look, it is going to turn around. This is just 2019, 2020, and it's going to go down. Oh, gosh. No, we're going to the moon. Everybody buy back in, right? I mean, that's just how it ends up going, and that's what a bottom would feel like. A bottom would feel like trash because we just went through one. We watched what it feels like. But I don't think anybody, unless if it happened rapidly, like if Satoshi started moving all of his Bitcoin, I would think it would take a long time to get there. A long time. Eric Martinson, my brother. Educated yourself. BCB, Technical Analysis Toolkit, bcbacker.com, BCB newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Brother, thank you. Thank you, Eric. He donated to Super Chat to promote the bcbacker.com and the Substack. Man, thank you very much. XRP Revolution. Have you had an XRP or crypto selling dream and you couldn't sell? I had 2 of them so far. Sigh. Thanks for all you do. Ignore the naysayers. No, I don't really have those dreams. Not really. I think maybe it's just I'm just not very emotional about the whole thing. Like the thing that, if you remember last week, guys, at the very beginning of the week, we knew that it was going to be ETF week. And like if you go back and watch, because I remember saying it, go back and watch Mondays. No, I guess did we have markets in the morning on last Monday? Was it a holiday? I can't recall. Whatever. The first markets in the morning from last week were saying, this is the big week. We're going to try to remain kind of calm through this thing, and treat it, not get caught up in any emotions up or down, but try to remain real stable through this thing. And that's really what we did. And then, when price hit, I sold. Not emotionally. I have no emotions about it. I don't have any worries. I don't have any right. That's the hard thing, right? Like buying low, your fear is that if I buy it now, it's going to go lower and I'm going to lose money. Selling high, the fear is the price is going to go up and it's going to keep going up. And in essence, our brain comprehends that as you lost money. Right? And that's the challenge of markets, because our minds tell us we want to perfectly pinpoint nail the bottom and perfectly pinpoint nail the top. And what you learn throughout time is that this is the sentiment that you get at extremes, right? And just acknowledging that and recognizing that there has never been a time ever in any of these. And a lot of you have now been here long enough to know that this is laser rise and diamond hands and Coinbase IPOing, right? This is all the insanity of China, Tesla not accepting Bitcoin, FUD. And everybody screaming just a minute, it's a bear market. And then it goes and sets a new high. ETF launches, 100K, rainbows. We're all going to absolute extremes. FTX collapse. It's over. We're never coming back from this. Like I've told the story many times, even at my church, pastor says, better not put your faith in FTX. And the whole church laughs. That's there's never, it's always going to be super optimistic at tops. It's always going to be super pessimistic at bottoms. And even for those who jumped in after Elon Musk bought Bitcoin and Tesla bought Bitcoin, you've watched that behavior at each one of these pivotal points. You watch the extreme laser eyes and diamond hands. You watch the extreme negativity in here. You watch the extreme optimism. You watch the extreme negativity. We're back to, attack anybody who has any idea that isn't Moonchild right now. And that's what happens at Retraces. So, just trying, I don't really have dreams like that about moon stuff. I fantasize about it. My daughter and I talk about it, but not when I sleep. When I sleep, I turn my brain off pretty good. And that may just be levels of experience. I do remember when I got into crypto in the beginning, in early 2000s, early mid 2000s, like springtime of 2017, it was very difficult to handle a 24-hour market. Being able to go to sleep at night and not checking on your positions, because you're not used to this type of volatility. You're not used to price swinging 10% to the downside in a day, sometimes 30% to the downside in a day. Those are really hard things to swallow, and it can impact your sleep in the early days of it all. But then, you just kind of become crazy and accustomed to it, I guess. But yeah, no, I don't really dream about it. Stephen Edinburgh, thank you very much, man. He gives 5 BCB memberships. Man, thank you very much. M. Malley, 86. I know in your last video that you're taking profits on the Ethereum on the Retrace. What's your final target, to be fully out, or will you be out when the Fed's out? Yeah, I will never be 100% out of the market. Right? I am willing to keep a specific amount in the market and be wrong. Right? So and I've always discussed that I don't do all in, all out. And if the market completely collapses, there will still be some that I hold, and I'm going to ride them all. I'll be riding them all the way down. But I'll have positioned myself other ways to hedge against things like that happening. And I know that's a hard concept because with new people, you want to get completely out, you want to get completely in. But what am I going to do? Right. And so like, this is the way I always think about it. Market goes way up. I sell a bunch of my crypto, and then I'm expecting price to go down, but price fires to the upside. What do I do? I'm screwed. How am I going to re-enter? What am I going to do if price really shoots up to the upside after price has gotten all the way up? Yeah, it gets all okay. Price gets all the way up here, right? I'm thinking it's going to go down. It shoots through and it goes up. It's firing to the upside. But I've already sold. Like, what if I've sold 100% of my bag? What am I going to do at that point, right? I'm just going to have to wait and pray to God and scream that it's going to come back down. Keep screaming at everybody like all the people did back here. All the people screaming for 12K and 10K, praying for it to come back down. I'm going to have to be that guy, right? So again, this is kind of like what the last person just said. Do I ever dream about like big green candles and stuff like that? I have found the place of Zen within myself to say, what amount can I take off the table to say, if the market crashes from here, I'm happy with what I've done. But if the market also shoots to the upside, I'm okay. I'm happy. I made the right decision still. For me, those numbers are 65% and 35%. Right? That's where I can live with myself. If I've taken 65% off the table and 35% of it crashes down into oblivion, okay, that's okay. That's what the original plan was. That's what the thoughts were. But if the price fires up away and it doesn't catch up to me, then it is what it is. Trading strategy wise, the idea exiting into the retracement levels. If all retracement levels get exceeded, then stopping out above the top of the retracement levels, right? So any type of trading, those are the ways. That's the way I'm treating things. But on long-term bags and everything like that, it's a 65-35 decision for me. And that number is going to be different for everybody. Completely different. It's whatever literally can make it so you're not thinking about crypto while you're sleeping. Hoang Win. Make them more mad, bro. Keep stirring the pot, and the more mad they get, the funnier it gets. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I just hope I don't die. You know what I mean? All right, Christina E. Hey, BCB, regarding Coinbase stock, could it range slightly higher as alts go higher? Did the stock even reach its 618? No, the expectation wasn't really ever for Coinbase to ever get to its 618. Where's the easiest way to get to that? Maybe here. I think, we're in areas of big stopping points for it, right? Like on this channel, everybody, what happened, right? You just saw it. Go back to look at your favorite accounts on Twitter, all the YOLO about Coinbase happening in here. Whereas, we're all talking about it down here. I'm buying it down in here. Targets are up in this area. Maybe a retrace, but outside of that, the bulk of the move is done. Idea for anything with Coinbase for me beyond this, it'll be too difficult of a read for me to try to have any opinion on it. We've pretty much reached target for Coinbase. So any type of bouncing action happening in here, take a look at on like the 15, right? This could go into a distribution schematic, right? A distribution schematic would look like this: ABC here, and then that would be the end. That's the way I am treating Coinbase stock. Tino. If it wasn't for the expected rate cuts and the Dow Jones getting close to the 4.236, would you expect a crypto bull run? Well, I think your question should be a Bitcoin bull run. Thanks for your amazing content. I think that's a great question. Yes, I would. If the Dow was not threatening the levels that it is left threatening right now, along with what happens when rate cuts do occur, Like if we were a step back in this thing and we're like somewhere here, in the middle, right, and there's still plenty of room up to go here in the stock market, due to my understanding that Bitcoin is correlated with the United States stock market and there being more, I would definitely have a different opinion on Bitcoin. And my opinion on Bitcoin would actually be we are moving down to this price level. We're going to settle highs and then off and away we go. That would be my thesis on Bitcoin. If the stock market was not where it is currently right now, and if we were not getting close to those rate cuts ended up happening, right? Again, it seems like it could be very likely that we get the first rate cut and the Fed doesn't just come out and say we're going to slightly do it, but maybe they come out and say something crazy. They say, hey, we're not only we stopping QT, we're starting QE, we're ramping it up, let's go. And that is the culture of Bitcoin, right? That is the culture of crypto, to go YOLO on that type of news, right? But that it would actually be a wrong footing, right? So if that narrative comes out, do expect. Could you imagine Twitter? You imagine Twitter? The day Jerome Powell comes out and says, we've decided to cut by 250 basis points. We're also going to buy $5 trillion of mortgage-backed securities. And I'm like, okay, I'm selling. They're going to be like, you are the dumbest man alive. But that's probably what I do. That's probably what I do. So we'll see. But yeah, that completely. Yeah, if we didn't have the stock market in such a dangerous spot, and if we weren't like getting ready for cuts, right? There's probably a little pump that happens in here on the start of cuts, like we have seen. Where are you? Right here. The last two times, right? Actually, in the .com bubble pop, right? We didn't get it. We didn't get new highs, right? It still continued falling down. Same as for the Nasdaq; it just kept falling down. It's just really these last two that we ended up getting little pumps after the rate hikes or the rate cuts had already happened. The one during the Great Financial Crisis, to reflect on, it was an emergency rate hike. Rate cut. I'm sorry, guys. They had been paused for quite some time. So this whole rally up that happens in here in the stock market, of course, is during a pause. And then it's like August 27th, it's either August 17th or 27th, that the rate cut actually ends up happening. And it was an emergency rate cut. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Like if there's if this thing doesn't go like this, which is always possible, like just narratives quickly change, things start changing in the world. They can always change rapidly. And then suddenly there's an emergency rate cut or something like that. We'll try to take that as it comes. But these the cutting was not the start of bull runs, right? And we know we're getting very close to the cuts coming. And those were not the start of bull runs. The last two did trigger slight impulses upwards in the indexes, which would make complete perfect sense. We get the cut and it gives us our slight impulse to give us kind of that blow off, and altcoins are firing and it's all chaos and wild and everybody's like, here we go. This is just the beginning of QE. This is just the beginning of the money printers turning on. The memes will be everywhere of Jerome Powell spitting money out, right? You know the culture. You know it'll be like that, but that it would be wrong footing. Don, member for 7 months, says, happy birthday, BCB. It's mine too. Have a great day with the family. Okay, thanks, guys. Happy birthday to you, Don. Larry Chisholm. Good morning, BCB. I rewatched your Ethereum video from 5 months ago. You mentioned all-time highs possible with Ethereum. Is that what could happen after an expanded flat correction? Yes. I still see it there on Ethereum. It's bizarre what would have to happen in crypto for that to be the case at Ethereum continues, but Bitcoin does not. But that's what I see there. This is harder than meets the eye. BCB got skills. Yeah, well, I mean, even from FIB standpoints, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, and If you haven't watched that video that we talked about in yesterday's, it's definitely worth a watch for Ethereum. Brandon Faragi, hey BCB, what's your price prediction for XRP? I don't know what the Fibonacci. I don't know what the market cap number puts it at. Some of you guys may know. You could say you guys would know what it is. It's got to be like 950 or something by now. I don't know if it's dropped into the 8s yet. You guys would know. I guess we haven't done it in a while. Let's go. Look at the XRP market cap. A 15.8x off current prices. Somewhere between like 950 and 975 is my hope. If that changes, we'll be communicating it live during the moment. Right? If there's too many confluences happening throughout all markets, we'll be communicating that live in the middle of the moment. So be prepared for that if that does come. This would catch you up to Ethereum's market cap at its retrace level and give you the full 4.236 extension on the market cap. So as time has happened, as inflation, 7% inflation does drift on for several years, that just keeps moving down and moving down and moving down and moving down. And so right now, mid 9s. All right, One Balance says, longtime lurker here. Trying my hand at a theory after your course. I don't know why I missed that. Okay. One Balance. Sorry, then I read part of yours in Larry's. Sorry, man. One Balance says, longtime lurker here. I'm trying my hands on a theory after your course. I'm looking at a Pacific coin. Hard to identify. Is that a crash that needs to finish or distribution has begun? This is harder than meets the eye. BCB got some skills. Let me pull it up on another. What is it called? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a stock or if that's a crypto, but it's definitely nothing. Sorry, guys. I'm silent here. I even talk about that. It's like the #1 rule of live streaming that you do not sit there and be silent. But I can't find that coin or what that is. So for that, I can't pull it up, brother. And if it is something that's ranked really low, I'm not going to show that on the channel. Appreciate the super chat. I'm trying to see if that's just a stock that you're asking about. If that's Canopy Growth Corporation or something. I don't know. But yeah, man, I can't find what you're asking for, brother. I appreciate it though. Thomas Dual Murray, new member, welcome. Brandon Farugia, hey BCB, what's your price prediction of XRP? Okay, we just got that one. Chris and Akmal, cheers to El Goto, the most hated man on the internet. It won't be for forever. It's all temporary. Chris then gifted a BCB membership. Brother, thank you very, very, very much. Guys, all right, here we go. We got some green shifting happening over here in the market. So we got a little bit more green showing up. It looks like Bitcoin's holding itself a little bit better. How are these ETFs doing? They're still down. But Bitcoin is doing a little bit of shifty rooski up here, upwards in price. So there we go. There we have it. Happy new week to everybody. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. We'll go ahead and start wrapping this thing on up. Again, if you're looking for the newest newsletter over there on Substack, it was posted there yesterday at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Link in the description of this live stream, and I just posted over there in the chat. Of course, you could check out bcbacker.com for 40 glorious videos from me that were recorded this year with over 11 hours of content. It's $39 one time. There's no renewing fees in here. The newsletter is written 2 times a month. That one is a subscription. bcbacker.com is not. Otherwise, guys, Luke over there, he gifted a BCB membership. Luke, thank you guys very much. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you all for tuning in. If you could hit that like button on your way out, it's the #1 way to support the channel. And it's the only way I can cope with all the hate that I get. Otherwise, I just sit there and I just count all my likes. If I don't have them, I'm just crying. All right, I'm done. All right, guys, have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream. Please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.